Welcome back to the Charter Podcast, brought to you by St. Xavier University. Ruthie, Polinsky, 𝗂𝗏𝗏 back here with you for a little edition of the Charter Podcast. Before Clay takes his vacation, he is going to come back with his full vacation stories for us. Not next week. He was going to be overseas, Europe. Where are you going, Clay?
We are starting off in Sweden. We're going to Sweden.
This is now a travel podcast.
Yeah, we're going to Sweden. Always wanted to go there. The Nordic cultures, sauna, steam room, ice bath, all that good stuff. Obviously, gonna indulge in the food and the culture, and that'll be fun. And then Albania for a couple days. Some people think that's random, but I've heard really good thing about the beaches and the people, and so it's very, very cheap over there as well, so it should be fun. And then finishing up with Greece, going to Greece one day in Athens, and then the rest are going to be in the islands at Mykonos. So
love that.
Having fun. Yeah, beach vibe. Yeah, so looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. But then we're going to be back in time for training camp.
Woohoo! I'm going to set the over-under on shirtless pics you post at 7.
I don't post that many shirtless pics unless they're workout videos. So I would take the under on that. Oh, our producer Edgar is going over.
Love it.
Yeah. Apparently I got to start keeping you guys guessing a little bit.
Love it. No, it's good. I like it. All right, Clay. So we're going to have fun today. We're going to give a shout out to the Athletics' 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏, who is giving us our content for today, who's friend of the program, friend of the show, friend of the Big Pro Football Show. And he put out their, I guess they do this every year. So they're doing a Chicago Bears fan survey 2025, Ben Johnson's arrival, Caleb Williams' next step. Basically, he's asking the fans to fill out the survey to get sort of the preseason vibe from the fan base. So Clay and I are going to take the survey publicly for all of you to hear, and then it'll be fun to see the results. I guess they come out next week. So let's kick this thing off, Clay, shall we? We'll start with the first one.
Yeah, let's do it.
First question is, how confident are you that Caleb Williams will be a star? And then we rank it from 1 to 5, 1 being not confident, 5 being very confident.
Man, they're hitting us with the hard-hitting questions already. I'm going to keep it right in the middle. I'm going to say 3. I can see it happening. I could also see some issues coming up as well. But I think he's in a good situation now with a good coach. So I think 3 for me, Ruthie. I don't know where you're sitting at with it, but, we got to decide. This is a democracy now, and democracy is tough with 2 people because – you can only pick one number here.
No one's winning this. We're just having a discussion. We're just going to, It's not a vote. We're just going to talk about how we feel. I will say that I'm probably about a 3 as well, Clay. Just verdict still out. I think obviously he was put in some tough situations last year, but I also think that he also didn't overcome those tough situations. They won 5 games. So I think there's a lot to, of course, I don't want to poo-poo sort of his mentality and attitude throughout the course of the year. I think he was the ultimate professional through a lot of really tough situations at a very young age. But I also, on the field, we didn't really see him overcome, the poor play calling, the, poor offensive line, taking sacks that he probably didn't need to, making the offensive line maybe look worse at times. There were just things that we saw where we want to see him take that next step this year before we all declare him the savior and a star. And really, could he, when I think of a star, I think of, could he be the face of the league? Could he be a superstar? And where he is walking through the streets of, Kansas City and people are stopping him instead of Patrick Mahomes. No, I don't know if that's what it needs to be, but just, is he ever going to get to that level? Verdict's still out to me. I think that's sort of where I sit right now as well. I'll put him at a 3.
Yeah. And I would say I'd be closer to a 4 than a 2, but this is a 3. And if you say he's a 5, he's going to be a star, you're lying. You didn't see it yet. This is in the NFL. He was great in college, but we still have a lot to see. We saw flashes, but we didn't see consistent play. So the flashes that he's showed me that he does have that potential. Yes. But we saw some late getting the ball out. We saw some bad downfield accuracy, deep ball accuracy, some timing issues. We also saw some of that. So I'm at a 3. I think he's in a good situation. Would be closer to 4, but staying at 3.
I totally agree. And I think what makes Caleb Williams is what makes a star a star. It's the excitement. It's the wow. It's the, oh my goodness. No one's calling 𝗏𝗟 a star because he can play in timing and, he's a talented player and he's going to be efficient and he's going to probably win a lot of games. I'm high on 𝗏𝗟, but you're not watching 𝗏𝗟 make these crazy, athletic off schedule, throws off his back foot, scrambling, whatever, doing all the things. So that's what, when you talk about Caleb Williams and what he can be, you see the, oh my goodness, the Patrick Mahomes-esque of how did he do that type stuff, which I think is definitely in the star favor. Okay, let's go to the next one. What will help Williams most in 2025? And here are your options. Ben Johnson, improved offensive line, new weapons, in parentheses, Loveland and Burden, or other. You want to take this one, Clay? You go first.
I'll take this one, and mine's just 2 words. Ben Johnson. O-line's close because that's important too. Yeah. But the Bears offensive line wasn't great last year, but they weren't terrible. I think Caleb having an offense built around him with him in mind, not just Shane Waldron plopping down Geno Smith's offense and saying, here you go, be Geno Smith, but better, isn't going to work. So I think Ben Johnson, the fact that he will play to his strengths, obviously the play calling, but also the teaching, the film, the diagnosing of coverages, just everything that comes with Ben Johnson, a guy that's had a top offense in this league for the last 4 years. That's one different style ways. Obviously, the only quarterback he's ever played with was Jared Goff, but I think that he is a guy that is young enough, malleable enough to know that you have to work with what you got, and Ben Johnson is going to be great for Caleb Williams.
I totally agree. And I think what you hit on in the coachability, I've said this a few times now, I think, but if Ben Johnson can't get it out of Caleb Williams and can't make Caleb Williams great, I don't know who can. And I know that's maybe saying too much about Ben Johnson, but you look at what he did for Jared Goff and you hear the way people talk about him. And then we've gotten to know him. We've seen him coach these guys on the field. This guy is qualified and ready to be a head coach. And not only that, but he's an offensive guru, offensive, whatever you want to call him, mastermind. We know what Ben Johnson is capable of as a coach and as a play caller. Now we know who he can be as someone who's holding his players accountable and being tough on them and making sure that they're doing what they're being asked of. And I think that's why, to me, my answer is Ben Johnson as well. But the offensive line, that's going to help. That's going to help a lot too. But Ben Johnson is the clear answer for me as well. Okay, next question. What can Williams improve on from his rookie season? Big playmaking, pocket presence, situational awareness, or chemistry with his targets? Ooh, this is good.
There's 2 of them that I think, it's like going back to test taking, Ruthie. I'm sure you did great on your ACT. I took the ACT. You could usually take 2 of them away. 2 of them are gone, right? It's like 50-50 and who wants to be a millionaire. So the only 2 answers left, pocket presence, situational awareness, right? Situational awareness wasn't great. There were times where he took sacks in the red zone, got himself outside the red zone, take sack in 2-minute drill, throw the ball away, bro. I mean, that situation at the end of the Vikings game, he took a sack early in that drive and forced him to take a timeout. Then you get down there, and obviously 𝗰𝗶𝘀 could have called a timeout in the situation. When Caleb does get sacked, you call a timeout right away. But Caleb does try to audible a play, and throw a deep ball when time's running out.
You didn't know they had a timeout left.
Didn't know he had a timeout. So there are some situations there that you're like, man, this guy's got to get better situationally. And I think he's just going to progress just from being a rookie to a second-year player there. So I would say pocket presence, because that's something that shows up on every down, every play. So being able to know where the rush is coming from. When you get sacked 68 times, a lot of it has to do with your pocket presence. He's very agile and he's very quick for a quarterback. Only problem is the pocket presence. Why didn't Tom Brady ever get sacked? That dude was a statue. This dude was slow. I remember watching Tom run and drills and stuff on the field. Man, this guy had cinder blocks attached to his feet. But the guy had an amazing pocket presence. Mm-hmm. He knew when to step up. He knew when to dodge left or right. And he knew when he had an unblocked defender coming. So I think that's something that's important for Caleb to improve on, probably more so than even the situational awareness, because I think having your head coach as Ben Johnson will help with that as well.
I think it's so funny. I agree with you. It's down to those two. And they're sort of connected, right? Like your pocket presence and your situational awareness can in some ways be similar. Like when you have pocket presence, you're situationally aware, right? Like, am I crazy for saying that, Clay?
No, it's right.
Yeah. So I think I'm with you. I think the pocket presence on every down needs to improve, but the situational awareness almost encompasses what that means. So I'm with you. I would go probably pocket presence here, but again, situational awareness very much tied in there. Okay, this is fun. We're getting into Ben Johnson questions now. How confident are you in Ben Johnson as head coach? 1, not confident, all the way to 5, very confident.
I don't want to be
Homer.
This Homer that's just going to be very confident, man. But I'm 5, Ruthie. I'm confident in Ben, okay? My only question was this guy's personality. Is he going to be able to relate to his players? Is he going to have a stern enough personality to where he's going to command that respect? Because these guys are, I hate to use this term. This term is so overused, but you're in front of a bunch of alphas, right? These guys are NFL football players, grown men. And if you don't have the right personality, sometimes they're not going to respect you. They'll walk all over you a little bit. Ben, he's a dog too. This guy's one of those guys that's just a hard worker. He's stern. He has the credentials to say that, hey, I ran this offense for these years, and we were one of the best dang offenses in this league. Mm-hmm. And he's a guy that just accountability. Do this. You're doing this my way. Look at what I've done. You've got credibility. Hardworking dude. He's very accountable for everything. He's making you become more accountable. So I'm a 5 out of 5. Like you said, to me, if this season goes wrong, I don't think it's on Ben Johnson. I think it's on you gotta figure out the right group of guys to get in there, because I think that the Bears have found their coach that could be their coach for 10 years.
I am so confident in Ben Johnson that I believe that if things don't work out with Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson will outlast the quarterback. Ben Johnson's going to get his shot at another quarterback. And I think that's obviously worst case scenario, right? Like, I don't want to be negative Nancy, but I'm a 5 here too, Clay. And I know people, you come at me. I'm okay with being wrong. If this doesn't go well and Ben Johnson is not who we think he is, like, I'm okay to say I was wrong. Like, that doesn't bother me. But we've been around him. We've watched him feet away, right? We've seen him coaching players 5 feet away. Everything we're hearing from inside the building, from the players, from Ryan Poles, from all the people who know Ben Johnson. I don't know how you can't be confident in this guy. And listen, Bears fans may be a little jaded. They may be a little, I'll believe it when I see it, which I get. Like, it's been tough out here in these streets. But I'm a 5. It's as simple as that. I'm very confident.
Yeah. He knows when to be stern. He knows when to be a friend. He knows when to coach. He knows when to chew your butt out. Okay. I mean, I've seen a lot of coaches, Ruthie, and I feel like you just get a feeling when you know a guy is good at what he does. And
Yeah.
that is the feeling you get when you watch Ben Johnson on the field coaching his team.
All right, let's fly through some of these. What excites you the most about the Ben Johnson era? His play calling, his demeanor, or that he's not 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏?
Wow, that's pretty good.
There's also a choice for other, and you can fill in the blank.
I mean, I love his demeanor, but obviously, like, I think the play calling aspect as an offensive guy, his demeanor is important too. The accountability aspect, I mean, very important. But if you're saying just like excitement, the fan in me wants to see his play calling. This guy knows how to call plays. He's going to go for it on 4th down. He's a guy that 3rd and 6, he still can run the football. He's still going to throw a 4-yard pass because he's going to go for it on 4th down. So as an offensive player, offensive guy, the fan in me is really looking forward to seeing this evil genius type coach, Ben Johnson, call plays.
Okay, I think this is the first one where we're going to disagree. I'm with you. I cannot wait to see what his play calling looks like. But like I said, I'm going worst case scenario here for a moment, just because let's say it doesn't go well this year, next year, etc. It's his demeanor, I think, that will keep that belief. I think we all know he's a phenomenal play caller. So if things don't go well, I don't think it's going to be because of his play calling, right? It's going to be for other reasons. So it's his demeanor and his sort of persona and like who he can be for this organization, for this city, that I think excites me the most. Not what I think is necessarily going to make him the most successful, but I think it's just what is exciting to me about the future of the Bears. That's where I stand there.
Love it.
Okay, what was general manager Ryan Poles' best offseason player acquisition? Trading for Joe Toney, trading for Jonah Jackson, signing Grady Jarrett, signing Drew Dalman, or drafting Colston Loveland?
I'll say the worst out of those 5 was Jonah Jackson. Obviously, you trade for him, then you give this guy a big contract increase when he's missed 29 of his last 51 games. To me, that's kind of questionable. And I hope that he plays like he did when he was with Ben Johnson the first time, get back to that Pro Bowl level. But the best, I'm probably going to go with, I love Colston Loveland. I think the center is very important. So I think we're going to disagree on this one again. I think Ruthie's going center. I'm going Joe Toney, not because he was my old roommate, Ruthie Polinsky, but because of what he brings to that locker room. Okay, this is a guy that's been to 6 Super Bowls. He's won 3, not to mention he's the best pass blocking guard in the last 2 years in the entire NFL, can play left tackle, hasn't missed a game, and has only missed 2 games and 146 starts. I mean, the guy is just incredible, Pro Bowl caliber player, mentality he brings. Joe Toney.
Right. I guess my only concern for Joe Toney, too, is that, like, everyone's saying he's so durable, he's so durable, he's so durable. It's like, is this the end? You know, because he's older, right? So I think you're sort of worried about when is his body gonna wear down? I don't feel that way. I'm just saying that's, I guess, the main concern. I was going back and forth between Drew Dalman and Joe Toney. I don't know what I would hit here if I was actually taking the survey. Yeah. I think I have to go Joe Toney too, to be honest with you, just because of the pedigree, the level of respect that he brings. He knows what it takes to be a successful offensive line. He knows what it takes to be a winning football team. That's sort of the intangible part, I think, of the Joe Toney signing that I think is probably his best acquisition for Ryan Poles. Which new veteran will make the biggest impact in 2025? Drew Dalman, Jonah Jackson, Grady Jarrett, Dayo Odeyingbo, or Joe Toney? Ooh, this is interesting.
I don't want to go Toney again, but let's say biggest impact, I'll go Drew Dalman. And that's because he's a center. Instead of Coleman Shelton, Ryan Bates, like, who's your center? We got the best center on the market. This guy is smart. He's going to be able to help with protections. You really shored up that interior of your offensive line. And it's been so long since the Bears had a really good center that they could just count on. I think it's going to help Caleb a lot, having him in front of him, to help him diagnose fronts and all that good stuff. So Dalman.
Love it. I'm going Dalman too. I think just because of the, like you said there, just taking the responsibilities away from the quarterback, making Caleb's job easier. Anything that's going to affect the quarterback and make his life easier, I think, is going to have a huge impact. And Drew Dalman seems like the guy that can do that. Okay. Which rookie are you most excited about? And then they list all of them. So.
Oh, easy for me. I mean, come on, man. I'm a tight end. I'm excited for Colson Loveland,
Yeah.
and I am excited for Ozzie too. But Colson Loveland, I mean, I don't think that bears a big explanation. This guy's big. He can run like a wide receiver. He's a hands catcher. He can go up and get a ball. He's not scared to run over people, too. He can break some tackles, and he's also a willing blocker. I want to see how Ben Johnson's going to use this guy. You don't pick a guy in the top 10 and don't use him. I think you look back at what Ben did with Sam Laporta, 10 touchdowns as a rookie, 17 in 2 years. Like, this guy could have a huge impact this year if you look back at what Sam Laporta was able to do. And I think Colson Loveland will be better. He's more athletic than Sam Laporta. And you look back at what I used to say. I said Sam Laporta, when he came out, was my favorite tight end on the market. I'm going to show you the tweet after we get off here, Ruthie, just so you know I'm not BSing you, because he wasn't rated as the number one tight end. But I had him there. I loved what he did at Iowa. But I think Loveland's a step above him. And I know he's a Michigan man, Ruthie Polinsky. And I'm excited to see what Ben Johnson can do with this big receiver that can run and block.
I know you probably thought I was going to go Colson Loveland, go blue forever. I'm going 𝗦𝗂𝗰𝗶𝗹. There's something about this guy that I'm just really excited about, whether it's this year, whether it's next year, whether it's, just kind of getting to know him, and maybe he's going to get thrown in. Maybe Braxton Jones is your starting left tackle week 1, and that's great. You never know what happens in an NFL season. God forbid Darnell Wright goes down. Braxton Jones goes down. I just think Ozzie's going to make an impact on this football team in 2025, whether it's behind the scenes, in the spotlight. I'm very excited to watch him. I think we all know Colson Loveland and his potential and what he can do, and that's obviously very exciting. But I'm excited about the unknown of 𝗦𝗂𝗰𝗶𝗹, if that makes sense.
He's not my number 2, but ever since he was at the rate with the rookies and he didn't want to come on our show, Kyle Malungai did. Thanks, Kyle. I decided to go Colson Loveland instead.
Okay, I love it. All right, which draft pick are you most excited about entering year 2? Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, Kieran Amegadjie, Tory Taylor, Austin Booker.
I know who you're gonna say, people, and it's not who you guys think she's gonna say. She's gonna say the punter, Tory Taylor, which is crazy. But
I'm not.
I'm pumped for Rome in year 2. I think he's gonna have a big year. I think he has a chance to end up as a number 1 receiver. I'm really excited what Antoine Randall is gonna do with this guy. 3rd in the NFL in contested catches. A lot of the balls thrown to him were uncatchable balls. That was also a statistic I looked up from PFF. I think he was in the top 10 of that as well. But Caleb Williams, I want to see what Caleb Williams looks like with Ben Johnson. You got an offensive line. You got the weapons. Like you said, Ruthie, you got to do it now. And we've seen how exciting this guy can be in some of these 2-minute drives. He was able to bring the Bears back a few times. And unfortunately, you had some extenuating circumstances to where they didn't get wins in some of those games. But I'm excited to see how Ben and Caleb work together. So I'm just going to take the chalk here and go with Caleb Williams. I'm curious to see what Ruthie says, though.
I'm going Caleb. How could you not be excited about him and what his potential can be with Ben Johnson, with the new weapons, with the new offensive line? You got to go there. Obviously, Rome is a part of that. If Caleb has a good year, I would think that Rome's going to have a good year, right? You would hope so. So we've already seen the connection, the chemistry building between those two, but Caleb Williams is my answer, bar none. Which position concerns you most? Ooh, interesting.
All right.
I'll
start this one off as well. I'm going to go right now, edge rusher, probably. Running back, you could still see something get done there. I think Swift is an NFL running back, though, and I think Roschon is an NFL running back.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, you got some guys that can run the football. They're not going to be great, but they're not going to be terrible. They get the job done. Edge rusher, Dayo Odeyingbo is a boomer bust guy, in my opinion. I don't know what he's going to do. You're paying him a lot of money, but just because you're paying him a lot of money doesn't mean he's going to turn into somebody that's earning that money. So Montez Sweat, we've seen him have a couple years ago, huge year. Last year, not so much. And the rest of his career hasn't shown you much. So edge rusher, after those two guys, Austin Booker, there's not much there. So I think you need some depth. I know we've talked about Zadarius Smith being out there, Matthew Judon being out there. I think you should bring in a veteran guy that, if anything, is there for depth purposes if somebody gets injured. So yeah. I think you need to.
You got to rush the quarterback. You got to be able to get to the opposing quarterback. To me, that's the biggest. I'm not as concerned about the running back position with this offensive line. That's how I feel about, and with this play caller, I'm very excited about seeing DeAndre Swift sort of have a resurgence with the new coaching staff and the new upgraded offensive line. Defensive end, I'm a little more concerned about. You got to be able to get to the quarterback. That's a very aggressive style of defense. You think that Dennis Allen is also feeling similarly. We'll see what Dayo Odeyingbo looks like. Montez Sweat's got to have a better year. And Austin Booker hopefully is everyone, the player everyone wants him to be, but we haven't seen much so far. So that's where I stand.
Who's after Austin Booker? I mean, what do you got? Chris Williams. I mean, you start looking at this depth chart. You got Austin Booker. You got Dominic Robinson, who's also been, pretty solid in the early part of OTs and training camp. But you know what's going to happen once you put pads on. Chris Williams plays inside. So Daniel Hardy. There's not much there, Ruthie. After that, so depth.
It's a little concerning. Which position concerns you the least?
The least, I would say. Which position concerns you the least? I just don't feel comfortable saying this, man. But I mean, offensive line is up there.
I was going to say the same thing. It's like crazy to say that.
We're talking about the Chicago Bears. It's crazy, yeah. O-line or honestly defensive tackle for me. D tackle, just getting Bill back, bringing in Grady Jarrett, Gervon Dexter. I mean, you got 3 guys right there that can all play. And obviously you might need more than that. You still got Pickens there. But offensive line, Ruthie, I mean, there's not really interior depth is a problem. What's going to happen with Ryan Bates? I mean, can you rely on like Doug Kramer and Luke Newman as your interior backups? If somebody goes down, like I already said, Jonah Jackson has not been the healthiest player in the NFL in his career. I like our wide receiver core here for the Bears. I think that's with Rome, DJ, and Luther Burden and 𝗻𝗮𝗄𝗎 Zaccheaus. That's talented. But overall, I'm going to say something crazy, something I thought maybe in my lifetime I would never say. Offensive line. I mean, you got veteran guys there.
It's crazy. We talked about this on our show. I know this isn't an option as a whole, but like your secondary, I'm like not too concerned. I know there was some, people were maybe hoping to add a safety. When healthy, right? That's the biggest.
Outside of Brisker, yeah.
Well, I guess that there are some concerns when it comes to health and, players taking that next jump with Tyreek Stevenson, but you got Kyler Gordon, you got Jalen Johnson. Tyreek Stevenson is a serviceable cornerback, whether he's, when he's not, waving his hands and celebrating before a Hail Mary. He's a little too trying to toe that line, between physical and dangerous, that's the one thing I think Dennis Allen will help rein him in. So secondaries, it's crazy to say offensive line because at worst, like you have Braxton Jones, who is very
serviceable,
above average.
He's above average.
So I feel really good about the offensive line. Crazy to say. And I feel really good about the wide receivers too. You were talking about it. I know we'll talk about this more on our show later today, but I think weapons wise, like the Bears have the weapons. Like you should be okay in that realm. But I think offensive line actually takes the cake, which is actually insane. Actually insane to say. Okay, what letter grade would you assign Bears chairman George McCaskey for the last year?
I mean, the last year, you'd go back to last season, but I think the offseason really changed it for me. So I'm going to go B because obviously last season you didn't make the decision to get rid of 𝗬𝗎📓, and it all worked out, right? There were some things you could have did better with the changing of the coaching staff and everything. You could have probably did a better job there with your rookie quarterback. But this offseason, he gets an A with what he's been able to. He spent money. He got the best coach that's available. They were able to bring in Joe Thuney via trade. You signed some big time free agents, and I think you put yourself in a position to be a solid team here. So the last year, if we're going from like today, a year ago, let's give him a B.
Yeah, I'll probably go C, just because it's average to me. Like, it's unproven. I think like we'll see what happens this year. How does it go this year? And there may be some bumps to start, which I know we don't want to overreact about, but I am very curious to see how all of these moves that are great on paper, like, how do they pan out, right? Yeah. So that's sort of where I stand. But listen, he threw out the cash money for
Ben Dennis, Antoine Randall, like Dan Rochar. Yeah.
Yep, all-star staff. And extending players, money up front, guaranteed money, like that to me is uncharacteristic, right? I guess, which may be an unfair stereotype or characterization of who the 𝗦𝗂𝗎s are. They're spending money. They're doing what it takes, what they think it takes to win. And that for that, I give them a C. Let's see. You gotta win for it to be an A, like that's where I stand. What letter grade would you assign Bears president, CEO Kevin Warren for the last year?
I think, Kevin Warren's done. I mean, if you give 𝗦𝗂𝗎 a B, I feel like you got to give like a similar grade, because Kevin Warren has come in and kind of helped to get 𝗦𝗂𝗎 to open up his wallet a little bit. People would say this isn't typical of 𝗦𝗂𝗎, so I'm going to give him a B. Obviously, you can't really blame him for this stadium stuff. Because
why not?
Illinois politics, man, it's hard.
They own the land in Arlington Heights, Clay. They could have had shovels in the ground 2 years ago.
Yeah, I get that. It's just tough because what they're trying to ask for with like the tax stuff, and I feel like this is extenuating circumstances here to where it's some stuff that he can't help, but I'll give him a B just because I'm not sure exactly what else he could do with the stadium stuff. And I know he keeps saying, shovels in the ground, pants on the ground, looking like a fool with your pants on. I don't know if you remember that song from American Idol. Yeah.
All right, let me chime in here.
Yeah.
I'm giving him a C, teetering on a D. Kevin Warren was hired to get a new stadium.
Yeah.
That was his job. It is positive news that he is convincing the 𝗦𝗂𝗎s to spend the money. So we think. We don't know really what his role has been behind the scenes necessarily. His job when he was hired was to build a stadium for the Chicago Bears. We are long overdue here for him to have like made so little progress. And I get it. I'm not teetering on. He needed to kick the tires and make sure he crossed his T's and dotted his I's and made sure that there was no possible way that they could stay in Chicago. I get that. And there are things and, laws and rules that come with that process. But to be sitting here on July 9th, 2025 and have no clue what they're going to do while there's land that they own sitting there vacant, wasting away, with money wasting away in Arlington Heights, to me, that is teetering on a D. Like, your clock is ticking here to get a stadium plan up and running. We know that there was a survey sent out to fans. What do you want to see in this stadium? Is that more sort of like propaganda to make the city think that you're closer to leaving them than I don't understand really what's going on. And I'm not really the most qualified person to talk about all of the laws and politics that goes into the stadium. But all I know is that Kevin Warren was hired to build a stadium and he has yet to do so. And it doesn't feel like there's any progress as to where they're going to be. It feels like it's inevitable that it's going to be Arlington Heights. So what are we waiting for here is really where I stand.
Well, that brings us into our next question on this
Where will the Bears be playing in 2030? The current Soldier Field, new Soldier Field, Arlington Heights.
I think the only question is the current Soldier Field or the new Arlington Heights. I'm going to say Arlington Heights just because it's hard to imagine that they really can't get this thing done, and they want to build a stadium. So it's going to take like 3+ years. So that'd be like in the next year and a half, you don't get started. So I think they are going to get started in the next year and a half.
Kevin Warren said shovels in the ground 2025.
That's what I'm saying. It feels like you got to be started in the next. Yeah.
Keeps moving the goalposts. Like, it's just, that was me moving the goalposts if you're watching. I just think you got to get shovels in the ground this year. You have to make an announcement. We're building the stadium. Here we go. Let's get excited about it. We're done dragging our feet. It's going to be I think it's going to be Arlington Heights. I don't see the city bending. And if their clock is ticking for the Bears, did you see the aerial shot of the Bills' new stadium today?
No.
Oh my God. Is that thing going to be incredible? If there is a Super Bowl in Buffalo, New York.
Is it a dome?
I think it's retractable.
Ooh.
Or maybe not. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. But if there is a Super Bowl in Buffalo, New York, before there's a Super Bowl in Chicago, Illinois, that's all I have to say. Okay, how frustrated are you by the current stadium saga?
I'm like a 2. Let's just fly through these last couple.
Me too. I just got all worked up about it. I don't really care that much. Like, we're here for now. Okay. If you were to buy a jersey of a current Bear, who would you pick?
I'm going to go Colson Loveland. Believer. I'm a believer.
Like that.
Yeah.
Okay. If I were to buy a jersey of a current Bear, who would I pick? It's hard. It's hard. Colson Loveland's a good one. I would probably do Jalen Johnson, number 1.
Fair.
Okay. Who's the best Bears quarterback of all time? Jay Cutler, Sid Luckman, Jim McMahon.
I never watched anybody but Jay, so I'm just going to have to say Jay because I wasn't born yet for the rest of the guys.
Okay. Who's your favorite Bear of all time?
Favorite Bear of all time? I was a big Urlacher guy growing up. So, I mean, that's a guy I watched. I mean, it wasn't around for Walter, so I'm going to say Urlacher.
Yeah. Is it fair if I say Dave Wannstedt?
Oh, yeah.
That count? Sure. No, I love him as a media mogul. Okay, last question, Clay. How many games will the 2025 Bears win? 7 or fewer, 8, 9, 10, 11 or more?
I hate to say it, I'm going to go 8.
I'm going 9.
Okay.
God willing. It would be so fun for us. All right, that's going to do it for the Charter Podcast. Shout out to 𝗏𝗏 and The Athletic for giving us this activity today. That was really fun. Clay, see you before training camp.
Yeah.
And we'll get this show on the road here. 2025, here we come. This is the Charter Podcast brought to you by St. Xavier University. Have a great day, everyone.